Weiss, and welcome to the Dairy Nutrition Blackbelt. Our guest today is Dr. Luiz Ferraretto, and we're going to talk about some work he's been doing on feeding behavior, feed management, and feed quality. So Luiz, welcome to the Black Belt.
Thanks for having me. My name is Luiz Ferraretto. I'm an assistant professor and extension specialist here at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And the main focus on our group here for research and extension is forage quality, as well as carbohydrate manipulation, dairy cattle performance, and feeding behavior.
Well, again, welcome. You've done some interesting stuff looking at feeding behavior and, again, effects of forage quality and some mitigation methods. First of all, when you say feeding behavior, what kind of behaviors are you looking at?
Yeah, this is a great question. I think there are many things that we can look for when discussing feeding behavior. But I think the key points would be eating time, which basically is the amount of time that the cow will spend at the feed bunk consuming feed or sorting or trying to understand better her diet before consuming it. Rumination, which basically is key for saliva production as well as keeping rumen motility. And even though it's not necessarily associated with feeding behavior, I think it's also quite important to consider lying time or resting time, because I think the cows have a time budget, and definitely is important to know if they're resting enough.
And then, if producers are going to use this, the big question is how do they measure this kind of stuff? So can you again briefly just discuss how a producer or how a nutritionist in the field could measure these behaviors?
Yeah, I think that the most accessible tools that people could utilize to measure rumination and lying time would be different types of sensors, right, that you could use with cows. That are ear tags, it could be pedometers, or it could be collars that measure activity. With eating time, I think that there are less of those technologies that allow you to measure that. A couple of years ago, actually during Dairy Expo, I saw some companies discussing about cameras that you could put on a barn and then it could predict eating time. But I actually didn't see a lot of that in the industry. So I don't know how accessible those are or how good those are. But my expectation is that some of those should reach the market in the future as the technologies are improving so fast nowadays.
It's faster and cheaper as well. So there's things 10 years ago we would have never thought about doing. Again, what got you interested in this? Again, the link between behavior and forage quality.
Yeah, so one of the things I actually like the most about cows is the way they eat feed. It's quite curious to me how long the cow spends at the feed bunk and how she kind of searches for what she wants to consume. And basically, some years ago, we were working on a review article for a silage issue that Journal of Dairy Science put together. And actually, I ended up working with Rick Grant about how silage could influence performance as well as behavior, and some discussions associated with management. And then when reviewing a lot of the data, we start seeing some associations between forage quality and eating time, as well as rumination time. And I think that what got me really into it is that we spent a lot of time discussing rumination, but I think there is way less research or at least less focus on discussing the eating time. And I thought that was probably something there that we could learn about, that perhaps we could use in the field to improve performance as well as welfare.
So with respect to just forage quality, what have you found? How does forage quality, I guess, start with defining forage quality, which is a vague term, and how does that affect behavior, feeding behavior?
Yeah, absolutely. When it comes to forage quality, we could be discussing many things, right? Could be fermentation quality of the silage and hygiene, as well as the nutritive value. In this particular case, what got our interest was related to the nutritive value as well as the physical characteristics of the forages. So in terms of nutritive value, I think we were targeting for forages with greater fiber digestibility. And when we start going through the data, especially when we found comparisons in the literature that had cows fed either corn silage or sorghum silage, we saw a very distinct type of behavior, right? So basically, corn silage has a more digestible NDF fraction compared to sorghum silage. But even though those cows were consuming about 85 to 95% of the cows fed corn silage, they were spending about 105 to 100% of the time at the feed bunk, right? So we start wondering why that happens, right? And obviously, we don't know why exactly, but if we could speculate, we were speculating about, well, maybe it takes a little bit longer for those cows to masticate their diets, or because they have to reduce the bolus to a specific size to be able to swallow it, or they could be sorting, right? So I think that's what got our interest at first.
Adiseo, a global leader in nutritional solutions and the provider of SmartAmine M. Visit milkpay.com to calculate your return on investment when you balance your feed with amino acids, and to learn how SmartAmine M is the product for dairy producers who want to optimize milk production, component levels, and the lifetime performance of their herds.
And, if cows spend more time at the bunk but not eating as much, you say, there's only so many hours in a day, so that takes hours away from other activities. Do you think this could be used if farmers would monitor these behaviors? Could it pick up like a change in forage quality before a lab test, or tell the person maybe it's time to test forages again?
Absolutely. I think that if you see that cows are resting less, especially if they are ruminating less while resting, it's probably a clear indication that they are facing some issues to consume enough feed, right? If that comes at the expense of greater time at the feed bunk, right? Obviously, that when it comes to commercial dairy farms, we have to be really careful with the nutritional management as well, right? Because for us here at the university, everything is controlled. We have the, I'm going to say, perfect time of feeding. We'll be pushing up feed at the correct time. In our case, a lot of the research, we actually don't even have to push up because we put into a bin, right? But in the case of the commercial dairy farms, we obviously have to contrast that not only with the diet, but with everything else that's going on, because it could be affecting that as well.
Oh, thank you for your time. It's been fun talking to you.